welcome back. It's the last day of February. It's a leap day, 29th of February. And you find me today out and about upon my Moto Guzzi V7 Stone Special. Hey! Yeah, another freezing cold, mucky winter ride out to shed. Yes, I think that's the word, shed. As early as possible, the old winter blues. So here we are. Oh, and tomorrow's new bike day. Apple Yards. Go collect the old mystery bike. And typically it's forecast sleet. Isn't that great? So let's see how that goes. Any road up. Today's going to be about the top 5 things that I love about this bike, and the handful of things that are slightly irritating, but not massively so. But it's a fantastic bike. If you like your retros and you like a bike with character, then the Moto Guzzi V7 range gotta be on your list. It really does. Yeah, so the Moto Guzzi V7, whether it's the V7 Stone, the V7 Special, the V7 Stone Special, or the V7 Corsa, the CAF Racer, they all employ this fabulous rock and roll engine, this 850 or thereabouts, a transverse V-twin, which I have to say keeps the old legs nice and warm, them there cylinders where they are, because it's like what temperature is it what we got today? 8 degrees, could be worse. Aye, just a minute while I scratch my nose. Hey! Oh, don't you just hate it this time of year? You just snot up, don't you, when you're riding? Rather irritating. Right, so first, let's get on to 5 things I actually love about this bike. And in no particular order. This will not be a hierarchical 5, it'll just be 5. So, first off, how it feels. This bike just feels amazing when I ride it. And the bike feels amazing and it makes me feel amazing. So that kind of works on 2 fronts, doesn't it? Which is good. It handles like a dream. I have to say, 18-inch wheels, just right for this sort of bike. Handles like a dream. Even on these somewhat lardy roads, handles like a dream. And really comfortable. Nice comfortable seat, nice comfortable riding position. Might benefit from some bar raisers, so might have a look into that. Certainly made a difference on the Super Meteor. And just all in all, a very pleasant experience that reaches the parts many other bikes cannot reach. So yeah, feels absolutely wonderful, and the vibe from this engine is proper vibey. Ain't no two ways about that. But once you get the revs up, she she smooths out. Of course, I'm still running this bike in. About 300 miles on it now, so I'm aiming to keep at 4,000 RPM or below. But at 4,000 RPM in top gear, we're doing 70 miles an hour, so that's the national speed limit in this country on dual carriageways and motorways. 60 on roads like this, more than enough. So yeah, the whole experience of climbing aboard this Italian stallion and letting rip is a visceral one. If you're after something smooth and refined, I suggest you go look elsewhere, because I'm delighted to say it's neither of those. It's raw and honest, down to earth, proper motorcycling, like what us Yorkshire folk appreciate. So yeah, how this bike feels is, let's just say that it offers something that my other bikes previously have not, and I've struggled to put my finger on exactly what that is, but it's definitely there, for sure. So there's how it feels, and there's how it sounds. Well, aided admirably by the Arrow exhausts that come as standard on the Stone Special model. The sound is intoxicating, and I'm sure the other models sound pretty rock and roll as well, but just these Arrow exhausts seem to bring the best out of what this characterful engine has to offer. It just sounds absolutely epic, and when you open the throttle, albeit that as I said, I'm not really going beyond 4,000 RPM, but I'm willing to bet once this bike's had its first service and we can confidently get beyond that, it will scream and bark and chatter and do all of those little idiosyncratic noises that add up to make a bike sound. Number one, characterful, which is a bit of an overused word, I suppose, but I can't think of another one. And also of its time. Don't forget, this is a retro bike, and it's meant to, or aimed at giving you a somewhat vintage riding experience, and that it does. It delivers in spades. But yeah, ably assisted by the Arrow exhaust, then it's quite intoxicating. It's like a narcotic. Sounds fabulous. Right, so that be sound, which obviously takes me on to the looks of the bike, and I think Moto Guzzi with the V7, it's been around in one guise or another for quite some time now, although with this 850 engine only 2 or 3 years. However, I think they've nailed it. I think Moto Guzzi have nailed the design of this bike. The design they've come up with for a what I suppose a mid to sort of lower heavyweight, I suppose it'd be useful if you could grade bikes like boxing weights, you know, like welterweight, flyweight, lightweight, middleweight, all of that. Anyway, I suppose this is heavy middleweight or whatever. Anyway, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But for what it is, I think they've absolutely nailed the design. This particular model is not quite as retro as the Stone, rather the standard special, because it's got cast alloy tubeless wheels, whereas the Special has the spoked tubed wheels. So this is not quite as retro, and the headlight's not quite as retro. It's a full-blown LED, but it has retained enough retro, enough vintage to rightly call itself a modern classic. But I think the lines are spot on, the proportions are spot on, the build quality's good, the fit and finish is good, the colour scheme, red and black on this particular bike, I think is timeless. And stick in that quirky transverse V-twin, and I think you've got yourself a real looker. I don't think it's even a Marmite bike. You know, people that either love or hate things often mean that they get characterised as having the Marmite factor. I don't think it's even that. I think there have to be something wrong with your eyesight not to appreciate the design lines of a bike like this. It's a work of art, it's a Da Vinci. Yes, a work of Italian automotive art. Yeah, so it looks absolutely, to my mind, spot on. And I think of all the bikes I've ever had, with possibly one exception, this is the most pleasing on the eye. Well, on my eye, that's for sure. And from what many of you out there have said in the feedback from earlier videos featuring this bike, so do you. Pleases your eye as well. So I love the look of it. It is definitely one of those bikes that when you park it up at the cafe and get your brew, you want to sit and look at it. And that's what I'll be doing shortly. So yeah, there's that. And I think the fourth thing really with this for me, and it's more a comparative thing, so it's as compared with other modern classic motorcycles that I own or have recently owned, is it's got that little bit extra va-va-voom. It's 66 brake horsepower, and that's like 20 more, isn't it, than the Interceptor and the Continental GT and my Super Meteor. 20 more brake horse, and by heck you can feel it. And what that offers me, and it would offer you if you know, if you have those bikes or had those bikes and you're considering getting one of these, if like me you aren't quite yet so ancient that you get zero thrills from a bit of speed, then the performance and power that this bike offers will be more than enough to give you that thrill. It's sort of with the Super Meteor and the Interceptor, I've found more than enough real world power, as I've said on more than one occasion. But if you're really feeling in the mood for a spirited ride, you've got to really sort of work the bike, which is no bad thing. It certainly improves your riding skills, but sometimes you just want that extra little frisson, that little bit of edge, that if you like, that topping of extra performance just to tickle the old plums. And this has got more than enough to be able to do that for you. So the power for the category of bike that this actually is right on there. More than enough for your hey shits and giggles. More than enough. Yeah, so the power's spot on, right in that Goldilocks zone if you like a bit of poke. And I suppose the other thing really, and this is an overall consideration about the bike, is its authenticity. Its authenticity and its legacy. I mean, what you see is what you get, isn't it, with a Moto Guzzi, as I've said before. And it comes from that over 100 years now of Moto Guzzi motorcycle manufacture, and since this sort of bike as a concept was born in the early 60s, was it? It has remained true to its birth credentials and has a certain honesty about it. And I like that in a bike. Yeah, so what about niggles? Every bike has its niggles. Well, I think the main one for me on this, it's not a showstopper, there's no fuel gauge. Now, don't get me wrong, you don't need half a brain to remember to reset your trip every time you fill up, and you don't need half a brain to work out when you're going to come close to potentially running out. And this bike, of course, has a stonking big 21 and a bit litre fuel tank, so I'm guessing the range on this should be around about the 200 mile mark, so you can gauge that fairly well. But I just would like to see on any modern bike of this caliper a straightforward fuel gauge somewhere there on the LCD display, just so you can momentarily check the state of things. And I appreciate a lot of fuel gauges, Royal Enfield in particular, don't often accurately reflect what's left in the tank. But a fuel gauge that would do that, I think, would be a big asset to this bike. So it's a little bit narky. The other thing is the network of Moto Guzzi dealerships is probably not what it could be. I'm fortunate here, there's one in Leeds, which is not that far away. This bike was bought from MSC in Nottingham, and it may well be that when I take it in for its first service, that's where it goes back, but we'll see. But I know that is an issue, the number of Moto Guzzi dealerships, and therefore the ease and convenience of services and the like might be an issue for you. So there is that. The other thing, and I only really found out that this is just one of them cases of they all do that, sir. I found out on the Moto Guzzi V7 UK forum, when you press the starter button, particularly if the bike's been stood a while, like for a few days or overnight or whatever, it seems like an age before the starter motor kicks in, and at first you get that horrible sick feeling in the pit of your stomach. Hang on, what's wrong here? And then it comes to life, fires up, comes to life. And I've not ridden this bike for 2 or 3 weeks, but it's constantly been on an Optimate 4, so I know the battery's bob on. And when I went in yesterday, I pressed the starter and like nothing happened at all. So I kept my finger on it, and then after about, I'm not kidding you, for about 5-6 seconds, which is a long time, and then she just fired up, no problem. And after I'd run the engine for a bit, that 5 seconds pause, that dropped to like maybe 1 or 2 seconds, but it's still pretty noticeable. So it's a bit of a twitcher, I suppose, if you're out in the middle of nowhere and that happens and you don't know about it. Yes, can invoke a degree of anxiety. Anyway, so I went on the forum, and it is pretty much a case of it's just a lazy Italian bike that takes some time to wake up. Hey! I'm not suggesting that all Italians are lazy, but that was the response. I can live with that, providing it don't become too severe. But yeah, strange thing. Some suggesting it might be to do with dirty or corroded points in the start switch, but this bike's only a couple of months old, so that doesn't seem likely to me. But there's so many people reply to say, yeah, that's what they do. So right, fine, that's what they do. Apparently there is a sort of fix for it, which involves mucking about with the starter relay and putting in bits of wire, and I'm not so sure I can be bothered with that. So yeah, there's that. Now, here's the thing. This was very strange, and I still can't explain it. So if any of you out there can explain this, I'll be happy to hear your thoughts. Like I said, I haven't ridden this bike for 2 or 3 weeks. And when I backed her out of the garage yesterday, I pulled the clutch in and I thought, blimey, that don't feel right. And there was like only like an inch of tension in the clutch and about 2 inches of play. And I started the bike up, put it in gear, and then it immediately let forward and stalled. So clearly the clutch was engaged. So I thought, that's odd. So I went down to the right hand side and had a look at the clutch cable connection into the clutch housing, and when I pulled the clutch lever, it were only moving about ½ inch. Clearly not disengaging properly. Anyway, cut a long story short, because obviously there's an adjustment mechanism that consists of a externally threaded sleeve with 2 10 or 12 millimetre, I think 12 mil, 10 or 12 mil anyway, nuts on it. One's an adjustment nut and one's a locking nut. So I just adjusted that in and out a couple of times, and hey presto, the free play in the clutch lever went. Now there needs to be a bit of free play in the clutch lever before it engages, before it grabs the cable, so to speak. So when I'd adjusted it right out or right in, whichever way you look at it, the biting point was right near the top of the travel. So I adjusted it back again. Anyway, a bit of finessing, a bit of trial and error, and got it right. And then I looked at the position of the clutch cable adjustment by the clutch housing, and it was pretty much in the same position that it was when I'd looked at it and tried it, and there were only like ½ inch of travel. So I don't know what's happened there. I mean, I've squirted some GT85 in the front of the cable sleeve here and from the back. I just thought, how odd. How can the clutch mechanism adjust itself, the clutch cable? How can the clutch cable adjust itself just by being sat in the garage for 3 weeks? Because there were absolutely no problems whatsoever, no issues with it when I put the bike away. And then when I come to get it out, and it hadn't turned a wheel for 3 weeks, it's like the clutch is way out of adjustment. So I adjust it and sort it, but looking at it, it doesn't look like I've really adjusted it. Absolutely bizarre. If anybody out there knows what that could possibly be, I'd love to know. That was a one-off, obviously, a one-off situation. I don't think there's anything else about the bike that niggles me. It's great, and the fact that it's shaft drive, well, that's just a bit of cream on the old cake. Alright, so I just thought I'd have a quick ride out on this bike. First ride out in a while, and let you know exactly what I feel and think about this bike. 300 and a bit miles in. Loving it. Right. Oh, that was of some interest to you. If it was, please click a like. Please, if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. It's free and easy. Hey, a bit like me. Feel free to share. And until the next time, ride safe, be kind, and I'll see you.